Hello, and welcome to the Moms Love Coaching Podcast, where we talk about self-care from the inside out for moms. I'm your host, Carrie McFarland, along with Angie Turgeon-Ledoux. We are certified life coaches and moms, and in this podcast, we'll go beyond the take a spa day advice and talk about real and sustainable ways that you can feel better, be happier, and stay out of overwhelm and burnout. You spend your life taking care of everyone else. In this podcast, each week, it's all about you taking care of you with no guilt and no apologies. We're so happy that you've decided to spend this time with us, so go ahead and grab your favorite cup of coffee, find a comfortable place, and get ready to spend the next 30 minutes focusing on the most important person in your life, you. Welcome, everybody, to Moms Love Coaching, Self-Care from the Inside Out. It's Carrie and Angie. If you listened to our podcast last week, you will know that we were together, and guess what? We still are.
We're in the same room.
Yeah, we're in the same. So this is fun. This is an interesting experience that we're having, but hopefully the sound is good. We also had to play around with the microphone last time, and we think we got it where it's good and you can hear the both of us. So we hope it's still that way. This week, so this is the new month. We're in June, and we have topics that we're doing for the month. So last month in May, it was how to get through hard things. And in this month, we are talking about feelings that keep you stuck. So all of June is about feelings that keep you stuck. And this episode is going to be all about fear, specifically the fear that keeps you in a situation that you don't like. And now I'm not talking about necessarily an abusive situation. If that's something that is happening to you, please take steps necessary to keep yourself safe. But the fear that we are talking about is the fear of maybe changing a job, or maybe you want to move somewhere else. You want your family to move somewhere else. You maybe are thinking about having a partner change. So that's the fear that we're talking about. We recognize that this is what we call it. Self-initiated change can be scary.
That change that you get the little voice inside your head saying, I really want to do that thing. I wish this was different.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you start to think it might be even a little bit possible, fear
happens.
You're paralyzed.
Yep. So people who have gone through fear, which I'm going to assume is everybody on the planet.
Yeah, it's a universal human emotion.
It's pretty universal. So, and it's pretty common. It happens a lot. We were researching fear before we started this, and what we found is the 4 stages of fear. The 4 stages of fear are anticipation, identification, reaction, and reflection. And when we saw this, that makes perfect sense, because if you think about it, that is exactly what happens, because fear in and of itself isn't even as scary as the anticipation of the fear. It's the anticipation of the fear that is worse than the actual, or the anticipation of the change.
Yeah.
The anticipation of whatever the thing is that you're afraid of, the anticipation of that is more intense than the actual thing. And so that's what usually stops people when they think of something that they might want to do, or they think of something new that they might, want to explore. All of a sudden, this flood of, well, this could happen and that could happen. And what about that person? And that person might say that, and they might think about that, think that about me. And it's all that anticipation that stops you right there. And then sometimes people don't even go through the other stages because they stop right at the anticipation.
Yeah, they let the fear take hold, and they don't have to go through the rest of the phases or stages, because
Yeah.
that stops them. Probably,
easier.
what would, again, I referenced our coach in the last episode, but she would say, most people won't, because the fear will be stronger than they are.
Yes.
Most people won't pursue a business and life coaching, for example, or they will start, and then the anticipation of success, fear of success, fear of not being able to handle it, many things.
Yeah.
There's lots of things to be afraid of when you're trying to make a change in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's completely understandable, right?
Yeah.
So that is the second stage, right? When you start to accept that this fear is, you identify what the fear really is and how it is there to serve you. Right? Is that what how you take that?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think just identifying it is sort of, okay, so you think of something that you want to do. Let's say I want to go back to work. I've been a stay-at-home mom and I want to go back to work. And then you have all these thoughts about what if, and it's the anticipation of going back to work that scares you. But if that doesn't stop you and you continue forward with that idea, then you might identify, what is it that you're actually afraid of? What is that fear? Because the things that are coming at you are just sort of sentences like, if you think about like a little kid maybe going on a ride that scares them, right? And they want to do it and they want to do it and they want to do it. And then they get there and they're like, wait. What about this? What about this? And they start to freak out. Well, okay, what is it that they're afraid of, right? So what is the thing that you're actually afraid of? So that's what I think about when it says identification. So it could be fear. Let's use the example, keep using the example of going back to work, right? So you have been a stay-at-home mom for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and you decide to go back to work. And then all these thoughts start coming. Your actual fear might be something like loss of control, loss of connection with your kids, maybe loss of connection with your partner, because you are leaving the household to go into a job that's, either corporate or teaching or retail or whatever it is. It could also be the fear of, are you good enough, right? So are you good enough to be successful at that job?
Will they want me?
Yeah, right.
I've been out of the workforce for a number of years.
Right.
Will they want me? Fear of inadequacy, right?
Fear of inadequacy, right.
Not good enough.
And so that's the second point where you might stop yourself and be like, talk yourself out of it. These are the points where we talk ourselves out of it. So you have the thought, I'm going to go do this thing. And then you have the anticipation of all the things that could go wrong. And then you get past that hurdle and then you come up with the actual thing that you're afraid of. Then you have a choice. You can stop there and just decide not to do the thing. It's not worth it, or convince yourself it's not worth it, or talk yourself out of it. Or you can keep pushing forward and go to the next stage, which would be reaction. And so the way I take that is, how are you going to react to previous stages? So when I see reaction, I think more of action, right? What is the action that you're going to take? What are you going to do? What is your next step? How are you going to choose to think?
Because you could say that, let's go back to that fear of inadequacy. I've been out of the workforce for a number of years. I'm not going to be able to keep up. And then your reaction to that could be, I agree with that, and done, right? That's one way you could react to it.
Yeah.
The other way is you could say, I have this, you could identify that I have a fear that that I haven't kept up with my skills. Where is that not true? Like, what are all the things that I've done that might be related. It might not, like, say, if you were going back to the teaching, back to teaching after you've been out of the classroom for a number of years, you'd be like, well, I haven't taught, but oh, yeah, I have a 3-year-old who can tie their shoes. I have created a whole play curriculum for them, like curriculum for them. Oops, you just saw me air quote. But like, you could think about all the ways that you have used those skills in a different context, right? So that's the other way you could react. You could react by saying, okay, this is true and I'm going to quit right now, or how is this not true? Is that how you think about that too?
Yeah, I think there's two sides. I think there's that side, and I think there's also the side of what can I do? So, you talk about skills as an example. Where is it not true? Where do I already have the skills? And then there's the other side of maybe there are certain skills that I could gain by going out and getting a certification, or going out and getting a little more education or something like that. So there is that side of it. Reacting could also be your intentional thoughts of why you want to do the thing that that you're choosing to do. Why is it that you want to do that? And what are the things that you can think about to help make that true, right? Because if we think about the model, right, the circumstance would be the fact that you want to do this thing, whatever it is, right? Our example right now is getting a job. And then you have all these thoughts about it, and then you have feelings about it. And if you're in the middle of that fear spiral, the thoughts are going to be, all the things that could go wrong. And then your emotion will be fear. And then you're going to responding to that and acting in a certain way. So what are the things that you can think that will generate a different emotion? Maybe one of confidence, or curiosity. Self-confidence. Yeah. What are the thoughts that you can think to generate those kinds of emotions so you can take different actions that will actually get you to where you want to go?
I also think about that reaction as you guys have heard this before. Y'all have heard this before, that you can react to fear with fight, flight, freeze. So fight, you come out with a strong, like, push back. I'm going to push back against this. I'm going to fight my way out of this situation. You can run away from it, bury your head in the sand. You can freeze, where you are stuck in inaction. You can also flock, which is you find like-minded individuals and you commiserate together. But any number of those things doesn't help you move forward. You can identify that's part of seeing what the fear is and seeing your reaction to the fear as being one of those. And then that reflection piece comes in if you know these things about how fear operates.
Yeah. I mean, reflection to me, I think in this context just means thinking about what you want and what is going to help you get there. Because again, when you're in that fear spiral, you're not moving forward. You're just spinning around in your own fear. You're talking yourself out of doing something. You're not doing it. And some of the reasons may be valid, but what you have to think about is, do you want that thing to happen enough that you can push through all of this? And I think that's where the reflection comes in, because you're really deciding if what you want is more important than that fear. What did you say in the beginning? That the fear is stronger than what you want or something? What?
I don't know. We might have to rewind.
Sorry, we're going to have to stop and rewind and get back to you.
Yeah, just hang on. We'll be right back. Yeah, I think it was something like that. Something like that. The fear.
something about the fear being stronger than the thing that you want.
Right.
And so
right. You give in to the fear,
you give in to the
and
fear.
you don't, I mean, that's a form of flight, right? Is saying, well, this fear is stronger than I am, and I can't take any action forward.
Right.
It's a way of running away.
Yeah. It's giving up. It's basically giving up.
Yeah.
You're giving up. And I don't want to give the impression that I think it's wrong or somehow less than to do that, because it's, maybe you're not ready enough. And this exercise is sort of the first piece of the process of you changing or you moving towards the thing that you want in the first place. But sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes you have to think about it and sort of maybe stop for a while, come back to it. Sometimes it's just not time. So if you want to move forward, you want to like your reasons. If you want to stop moving forward, you want to like your reasons. You want to like your reasons no matter what, because if you don't, that's when you start the negative self-talk and the beating yourself up and I'm not good enough and I'll never get there and this always happens to me and stuff like that. So if you're choosing to stop whatever it is that you're doing, then just choose that on purpose and make sure that you're doing it consciously and you're not just giving up because you feel that, you're not the kind of person that can do those things, because that's usually not the case.
When and especially when this involves a change you want for yourself. I think when I left the classroom, I was a classroom teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left the classroom, it was like, I was afraid. I was afraid that whatever was on the other side of that door was still not going to fulfill me, or I wouldn't be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and educational administration is what I do now. And that was like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. I don't have time. I don't have energy. All these reasons why I couldn't pursue that. And I made the change out of the classroom. That was like the first step, but it was still into a teaching position, but it afforded me space. So even a space to then consider that I could have what it takes to do the administration job. And then I became an assistant principal the following year.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really was like having some compassion and patience with myself. So back in the day, if somebody had said to me, well, you're just afraid, I would have been like, no, I'm not. It's just like, I have 2 little kids at home and a teenager, I'm not Pasha. But the truth of the matter is it was fear motivated. It was like, and that fear is not a bad thing. I mean, there's a reason that fear exists, to keep us safe. And we were supposed to run from the saber-toothed tiger. Everybody uses that example, so I had to throw it in. We were supposed to run or fight. That was, we are hardwired to do that. And it's understanding that about fear in order to use it for your growth.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful tool to use for your growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can I think if you can like lift the lid on it a little bit, like if you can let the light in, like say, I'm imagining like a mason jar,
mm-hmm.
where you have like, it's a canning jar and you have to peel that lid up just a little bit to break the seal.
Yeah.
And you're peeling it up and you're just letting a little bit of the pressure off, the light in. And
it does. Yeah.
Then, because it is very scary. And then you get to choose, do I want to stay in this comfort zone? Carrie was talking about liking your reasons. It just might mean, like in my case, changing my job at that time. Moving out of the classroom wasn't as scary. I still had, both kids were still in the school that I was teaching in. But the following year, no, they both were moving into administration when they were both still students in the school. How would that impact them? Then when I left that job, my youngest was still in the school,
mm-hmm.
and I had to be like, oh, do I take this opportunity? Same district.
Yep.
But the fear was like, oh, I could stay here. I'm very comfortable in this, even though it's the hardest job I've ever done in my life. I could stay here, or I could grow and move into that next position. And ultimately that's what I chose to do.
Yeah. When you said it's hardwired into the fear, it's
Yeah.
basically anything that is unknown is feared because you don't know, like your brain doesn't know if that thing is going to kill you or not. Literally,
Brains
that's
don't want us to die.
yeah, your brain thinks that everything is going to kill you. So
everything
that it doesn't know is like, no, you need to stay away from that. You need to stay away from that. You have little kids, you don't have enough time. You need to stay away from that. So what we said in the beginning is self-initiated change can be scary, and that is because we are hardwired to choose what is comfortable for us, because if it's comfortable, this is what your brain thinks, if it's comfortable, then you understand it. And if you understand it, it's not going to kill you. So whatever keeps you comfortable, whatever you know already. Now, of course, this is flawed logic, right? Because your primal brain isn't that smart. It's just not. It just isn't. So,
have you ever learned to do something? I'm thinking about skiing. Now, probably when I learned to ski, I was little, and the fear that I was going to go rolling down the slopes head over tea kettle was probably not as well ingrained as it would be if now I went out and skied. But afterward, you're like, why was I so afraid of that? Like,
right.
Why was I so afraid to do that thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because look at what, like, I did it. My fear of heights, which is irrational, it's not rational. And so I have a fear of driving over bridges, of certain kinds of bridges.
For whatever reason, your brain thinks that bridge is going to kill you. And so it's
yeah,
like,
it does.
Don't go over it.
Don't go over it. That height is going to kill you.
Yeah, it's going to
collapse.
Yeah. And so in that instance, so Angie has a choice, right? If we think about those 4 stages, she has the anticipation of going over the bridge, and she has all those thoughts, but she hasn't quite identified what it is that scares her, other than the obvious. But I'm talking about the actual fear of, what is it? Is it fear of loss of control? It's something. And
it's something, all right.
It's something. Oh, it's something. So it's going through those stages consciously. The anticipation, the identification, the reaction, or in the reflection. The other thing that I want to offer people is, we talked about fear. Fear has a purpose. It has its place. No emotion is a bad emotion. We label them negative and positive and good and bad, but really they're just chemicals in your body that make you feel certain physical reactions, and then we attach thoughts to those sensations that we're feeling. And fear is no different. It's just that we have connected that feeling with something terrible is going to happen.
Something very, very bad.
It's
very bad.
Still how you think of it, because when you think about excitement and you think about fear, it's really the same sensations. So let's think about somebody on stage, right? All right, let's just take Taylor Swift, right? So let's think about Taylor Swift. So she goes on stage, right? And she is probably, I don't know this, I don't really have a relationship with Taylor Swift, I'm sorry to say, but I can only imagine that when she goes out onto stage and looks out and sees millions of people staring back at her, and she's all alone on stage and needs to perform, she has a level of excitement that's happening in her that gets her out there and gives her the energy to perform in the way that she does, right? Now, if you think, let's say I go out onto that same stage and I need to do all the same things she does, I am going to probably feel the same sensations that she's feeling, but I'm going to label them as fear because I'm not Taylor Swift. So I'm not going to be able to entertain that crowd. I'm probably going to get tomatoes thrown at me. So, so we're having the same sensations in our body, maybe the tingling and the butterflies and the, your elevated breathing and things like that. But she's labeling it as excitement and I would label it as fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it is partly how you're thinking of it. It's the thoughts that you're attaching to that emotion. But I want to offer, there's also the flip side of fear, which is bravery. Because when you do something that you're afraid to do and you do it anyway while you're afraid, that is the definition of bravery. So without fear, there would be no bravery. So all of the people that we think about who are fearful and doing the thing, they're all super brave. We are all super brave. Don't think of yourself as a fearful person. Think of yourself as a brave person because that's what you are.
It is possible to be terrified and take a step forward. And one of the ways that you do that is by making that step, A, small step in that direction, and B, something that you're willing to do. What am I willing to do? So, for example, if it's the job seeking after being home for a while, tending children, that you take that first small step. What are you willing to do? Maybe you reach out to somebody, a former employer. Maybe you reach out to somebody you've known who's recently joined the workforce. Maybe you look to see if there's any in your local what am I thinking? Like local education, community college might have job search fairs.
Mm-hmm.
Where you could start to talk to folks about what's available out there. And you just, maybe you do a Google search. That's pretty low risk in terms of, okay, what things are available. Maybe you join a mailing list. Maybe there are some different things that you can do that help you move forward. And the whole time you're doing it, your brain is screaming, no, 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 nobody will want me. Nobody,
right.
I'm not good enough, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But you are telling your brain, it's okay that you're afraid, but I'm going to take this little step. And then what you're doing is you're reassuring your brain that you can do this and not die.
Right.
You can do a Google search on how to find a job after maternity leave, after a 10-year maternity leave and not die.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Or even find a house, or if you're thinking making a change in your marriage or something, right? Anything that you're thinking of that scares you. And it could even be something as simple as you want to have a hobby, but you're not sure how to go about that. And you have doubts about what it is you could even do, or you don't even know what you like and all that stuff. Do a Google search. You're not going to die. I promise your brain will not. You'll show your brain that it will be okay.
And that's really what your brain wants to know.
It wants to know that you're okay. And you can just tell it, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm okay.
We're doing this, brain.
Yeah, we're doing this. It's okay. And everything will be fine. And nobody's going to die. And it's good. It's all good. It's all good, brain. So remember, without fear, there would be no bravery. So just remember that every time you're afraid. Don't say you're afraid, say you're brave. Because I think that's true.
When you're thinking about bravery, I think of courage too. They're similar.
Yep.
They're not the same, but it's that heart. Courage is the root word, core. means heart. And it's having the strength of heart to face that fear, feel that fear, understand that fear, and doing it anyway.
Doing it anyway. Do the thing. I don't know what the thing is for you, but do the thing.
I firmly believe that that the desire to change comes from the universe, like it's a gift to you. And that when we ignore that desire, it comes back stronger and stronger. Like it keeps coming back in various forms if we continue to push it away. And the reason we push it away, that again, is that flight. I don't want to, it's a natural reaction, but that it keeps coming back in various forms until you pay attention to it.
Yes, it will. It will be the annoying fly that will not go away. So don't ignore it.
Nope, get that fly's water out.
All right. I think that's where we're going to end it today. We hope that this helped and you enjoyed this, and we will see you next week.
Next time. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to us if you like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. This makes it easier for everyone to find us and helps us spread our message about self-care from the inside out. Have a wonderful week, and remember, making yourself the priority is the highest form of self-care.